Chapter 10. Kai. Even the moonlight feels warm here. Pale, silver rays slip between the cracks of buildings and banners, like frail fingers desperate to claw through anything in their way. I tug at the bandana tied around my mouth and nose, the blood-red fabric intended to keep the blowing sand from my mouth, though it grinds between my teeth nonetheless. I've abandoned my Imperials for the night, just as I've done the previous 4 since we'd arrived in Dor. I spent most of the day alone, scouting the streets along with any possible crevice she could have climbed into. Every time I pull back a banner, push open a decaying door, ask if someone has seen the Silver Savior, she evades me at every turn. She's a phantom in human form, like trying to clutch the wind in your fist, unable to see it even while feeling it slip between your fingers. And the knowledge of that has me feeling something pathetically too close to relief. Tonight is warmer than most, leaving me sticky with both sweat and sand. I turn down a quiet street, feeling slightly unsettled by the silence that swallows this city each evening. If I were to take a wild guess, I'd say it's because everyone is worn out after a long day of fighting in the streets and pushing through the current of bodies. I glance at a passing guard who looks anything but alert. I take a deep breath, swallowing the urge to pick a fight out of sheer curiosity as to what the lazy bastard would do. They're worse than most of the Imperials back home, and that's saying something. My lack of power here weighs on me, a dull buzz in my blood. I feel oddly heavy despite missing a piece of myself. Unlike the other elites, my abilities rely on those around me, and the Imperials I brought to Dor are the only bit of power I have to feed off of. After spending the entirety of my life surrounded by elites, the absence of them and their accompanying powers is so foreign it's frightening. I've never felt so exposed. A sudden slight pressure at my hip has me tensing, tentatively reaching for my concealed dagger. Well, her concealed dagger. The coin pouch. That's what they're after. That's what she was after too. The first day I met her. Could this be her? Could she be repeating history without even realizing it? There's no way in hell that even she'd be ballsy enough to steal from me knowing that it's me. My heart pounds, both my head and pulse racing. Turn around. I swallow, savoring the seconds in which I still stand with the unknown. Turn around and look at her. Look at the face that took your father's life. The face that didn't just steal your money, but also your... I hook a foot behind me, catching an ankle of the thief silently stealing my silvers. With a tug, I send them tumbling to the ground. Sloppy. Not her style. Sure enough, the body sprawled before me doesn't belong to a woman, but a girl. My eyes widen both in surprise and in an attempt to see through the thickening darkness. In a matter of moments, the girl's palms are pushing her backwards as she tries to put some space between us, her worn boots kicking up dust as they scrape against the ground. I take a light step towards her, crouching slightly to get a better look at... The tip of a blade is suddenly pointed at my face. I blink. That was unexpected, to say the least. Raising my hand slightly in surrender, I start to take a step away, my eyes pinned on the weapon clutched within a delicate hand. My gaze narrows on the engravings peeking between the small fingers wrapped around the hilt. I know this knife. My eyes shoot up to the tousled hair crowding around a pale face. Red. Abigail. I breathe. She's alive. It's a miracle she made it across the scorches after I banished her and the family who harbored her. The knife is shaking in her hand now, but her voice has a steady sort of softness. How do you know my name? I pull the bandana from my face before slowly inching closer to her, my hands held where she can see them. As way of answering, I say, "It seems you've been putting my knife to use." Her eyes widen with something akin to childlike wonder, though her awe is anything but pleasant. "You," she says, her tone bordering accusation. "What are you doing here?" I open my mouth to respond, but her small voice fills the silence before I have a chance. "Are you here to kill me? For real this time?" The twinge of hurt I feel at her words sends a shock through me. I shouldn't be surprised by her assumption. My reputation leaves no room for speculation. I am the very thing I was created to be. A killer. "No," I say quietly. "It's not you I've come for." She considers me for a moment, only slightly lowering her weapon. Smart girl. "You remembered my name," she states. "Of course I did." I tried to forget. Trust me. I clear my throat, crouching to look her in the eyes while ignoring the blade still pointed at me. "Maybe you can help me find who I'm looking for." She pins me with a skeptical stare. "The Silver Savior. The woman on the posters all over the city. Have you seen her? Heard anything about her?" Abigail slowly lowers the knife, having decided it's best not to use my own weapon against me. "I don't know," she shrugs. "I haven't heard a peep." I heave a sigh. Well, that was totally unhelpful. The girl's fiery red hair ripples when she swivels her head to the right, looking down an especially dark street with anticipation. "If I'm keeping you from something, by all means." I gesture to the stretch of darkness she seems so intent on running into. "I've got to get there before the match ends. I haven't made much today, and the bet should be pretty high tonight." Words tumble out of her mouth while I struggle to keep up. "There's a new favorite, so that means lots of people." She starts to step away, my question only halting her for a heartbeat. "A new favorite? What's the new favorite?" "Not what?" A childish grin lights her face. "Who?" "Abigail," I say, my voice deceptively calm. "I'm going to need a little more information than that." Ugh. I can practically feel her eyes roll in the darkness. "Come on, I'll just show you." She spins to point a tiny accusing finger at me. "But keep your hands to yourself. Those coins are mine. I need shillings to bring back to Mama." I bite back my smile. "Ah, yes. You're quite the thief now. Though, you still need some practice. Your hands are too heavy." A frown tugs at her lips as we walk, so I simply add, "The best thieves know how to distract who they're stealing from. Get their mind off the money in their pocket, and it's yours." She looks up at me, head tilted. "How do you know so much about stealing?" I'm silent long enough to let my thoughts wander back to the person who distracted me more than any other. "Because," I sigh, "even I've been the victim of a great thief." She stops before a crumbling building and the cellar door that opens beneath it. With a tiny fist, she wraps her knuckles in a series of knocks. I look around, seeing no one in the dark alleyway while wondering what the hell this child is leading me into. "So," Abigail says confidently, "once I can steal from you without noticing, then I'll be one of the best?" The corner of my mouth kicks up. "That's wishful thinking, kid." She scowls. "Hey, I still have a knife, remember?" The doors to the cellar suddenly swing open with a clang. Tying the bandana back around my nose and mouth, I watch Abigail spin on her heel before descending the stairs beneath. I shake my head at her retreating form. The fire in her eyes, the thieving instincts, the blade with a hilt engraved with swirls. What have I created? The similarities between them are startling. Was this what she was like so many years ago? Teaching herself how to survive on the coins from another's pocket? Refusing to focus on the fear she felt? I can't seem to escape the thought of her, the sight of her and those surrounding me. It's infuriating. And what's worse is that I may have just helped craft what will soon be another version of the thief that got the best of me.
Chapter 11. Payton. I now know why they call him Slick. My knuckles drip with sweat that was once coating the man's jaw before I forcefully wiped his face with my fist. Slick's blood coats my hands, stinging the raw knuckles I shake out as we circle one another. The crowd jeers, their shouts echoing in the cramped underground cellar. Faces I don't have time to focus on press against the wired ring separating us from the rowdy audience beyond. The bets are especially high tonight, emboldening the onlookers to rattle the cage or stomp in time to the rolling thunder outside. Considering how anticipated my match against Slick has been since spending the past several nights defeating each of his opponents, I would expect nothing less. He's suddenly charging at me, and I fumble to comprehend a suitable adjective to describe his sheer size. Slick may be the largest and most slippery man I've ever encountered, but also the slowest. I duck under the giant fist he swings at my head, narrowly avoiding the second one aimed at my stomach. My foot connects with his bare side, his body so solid that I may have done more damage to myself. A sweaty hand clamps around my ankle before he yanks me forward with a grunt. Slick is about as predictable as he is gigantic. With the leg that's still planted on the ground, I drive my knee up into his groin. At that, he does more than grunt while the surrounding crowd sympathizes with a synchronized oof. The tussle has my tightly wrapped scarf shifting atop my head, threatening to expose a strand of damning silver hair. I back away, panting as I adjust the cloth around my face. After 3 nights, it's a miracle I've managed to stay anonymous. Maybe it's the thrill that keeps me coming back for more. That, and the money. A fist connects with my ribs, forcing the breath from my lungs. I stumble from the impact, sputtering through the fabric around my face as I try to catch my breath. Slick stalks towards me, grinning in response to the shouting crowd. I scowl at the sound. He's a fan favorite after all. No reason to take it personally. It's a shame the crowd can't see the girl of 17 who's been kicking the asses of men twice her size and age. Then again, attention is the last thing I need, which makes these fights all the more dangerous. I need to remain the faceless rookie, a passing piece of intrigue to fuel the whispered gossip on the streets. But I don't intend to leave. Or lose. No, I've made more from winning these matches than I ever did in a month of thieving back in Ilia. Even with Adina selling her clothes, we never could have managed enough to afford real room and board. A twinge of pain shoots through me at the thought, though it has nothing to do with the injuries I've earned. It pierces me right through the heart that aches without her, the one that broke the day she did. For you, Adina. All for you. Slick is persistent, raining down blows I barely avoid. He clips the side of my head with his fist, and stars burst in my vision. I'm sluggish, tired, and starving. The things I would do for an orange right now. I shake my head, trying to clear the murky mind inside. Focus now, food later. Slick has thoroughly worn me out. I'm trying to get a read on him, trying to tap into that psychic ability of mine and find the best way to quickly take him down. Father would be disappointed at how long it's taking me to read him. He blocks my jab before barreling into me, pushing me hard against the cage. The loose wire rattles, and I barely register the chants of the crowd beyond. Finish him! Finish him! Finish him! Right. I almost forgot I'm a him. My baggy clothing and covered face have helped to keep my identity to that of the male species. I would be slightly offended if that wasn't exactly what I wanted. Focus. He's pressing me against the rusty cage, winding back a giant arm to strike me more than once. When the fist comes flying towards my face, I twist to the side, watching it deliver a blow to the metal where my head once was. He only fights with his upper body. Sure enough, he cocks his arm again, intent on only hitting his mark with a fist. With that knowledge in mind, my foot finds the inside of his knee, kicking hard enough to send a jolt up my leg. Slick bites down a scream as he drops to one knee before me, clutching what is likely a dislocated kneecap. A collective gasp echoes through the crowd at the sight of their champion so vulnerable. Those gasps grow into something much louder when I drive my knee into his gut. Once, twice. Suddenly, I'm being thrown to the ground. He's grabbed my leg and ungracefully thrown me off my feet before swinging my body onto the barely padded floor of the ring. I stagger to my feet, bones aching as I charge the still kneeling man. Then I'm using his propped, uninjured leg as a step stool before he has a moment to react. Swinging my legs over his shoulders, I hook a knee around his neck and use my momentum to send us crashing to the ground. Not my most graceful takedown. I brace for impact, keeping my leg locked against his neck, squeezing his throat. He grapples blindly behind him, his hands flailing in the hopes of hitting something of importance. I take the opportunity to catch one of his wrists, pulling it hard behind his head and pressing it down against my chest. This time, he does scream, though it's strangled thanks to my leg still choking the sound from his throat. His elbows strain as I pull his arms down unnaturally, hyperextending the joint. His excessive sweat has me at a disadvantage as I struggle to keep my grip from slipping. I hold him there, panting as he writhes, my own back sweaty against the rough mat beneath us. The crowd closes in around the cage, rattling the metal and shouting things I don't have the energy to process at the moment. It took Slick 9 seconds to smack the mat aggressively with his free hand, succumbing to his defeat. I've won. I untangle Slick from my many limbs, rolling away from the puddle of sweat outlining his panting form. My sore fingers fiddle with the snug fabric around my face before I slowly stand to my feet, feeling unsteady. I scan the cheering crowd, more than a little satisfied by the mix of surprised cheers and scowling faces belonging to those betting on my defeat. I raise a triumphant hand into the air, smiling with cracked lips they can't see. And there you have it! Shadows won! I turn my attention to the man who won't admit just how fond of me he's grown. Raphael raises a hand, shouting a variation of his usual lines above the buzzing crowd. If you bet on the rookie, it's your lucky day. Bring me your tickets and... I don't bother listening to the rest of his repetitive speech. As soon as I get my cut, I'll be on my way and sleeping as soundlessly as one is able atop a roof. Just a few more nights, and I'll have enough for a real bed. The hope of that has me clinging to the last shreds of my sanity. Rubbing out my sore knuckles, I push my way out of the ring and into the cluster of bodies beyond. Hands are clapping me on the back, congratulations following in the form of various grunts. That is the peak of politeness among this crowd. Ah, Shadow! Raphael nods his congratulations, watching me shove my way over to his rickety table covered with tickets and coins. How'd we do tonight, Raphael? And by we, I mean me. I keep my voice low, my parched throat helping to make the sound far gruffer than I intended. He shakes his head at the messy table, whistling low. Pretty damn good, kid. I smiled despite the angry split in my lip, ignoring the blood beginning to pool in my mouth. What are we talking? 20? 30? At least. Raphael glances up at me with a sly grin, while the gray streaking his slicked hair shines in the flickering light. How's that for proving myself, I say slyly, just as I do after each one of my wins. Yeah, listen. You have a future here, kid. The people will want to see more of you after tonight's show. He straightens, beginning to count out coins before placing them into my greedy palms. I could set you up consistently, he continues as I slip the silvers into my pocket. Say a fight every night? My smile is smug enough for him to see it in my eyes. Perhaps I'll consider it after hearing an apology for doubting me. You're a pain in my ass, you know that? The words are harsh, but his tone is anything but. Fine, I'm sorry. There, you happy now? I open my mouth to reply, to tell him that I accept his pitiful apology and expect a higher pay cut. But it's not my voice that echoes through the cellar. No, it's a voice that chills me to the bone, though it used to set my blood ablaze. Used to have me hanging on every word and aching for the next time I'd hear it. But now I'd hope to never hear that cruel voice again. Hear the command lacing each word, the calculation accompanying every sentence spoken. Yet there it is, strong and sure, and so damn cocky as it snakes its way down my spine. So, is Shadow up for another round? He's found me.
Chapter 12. Kit. It's been nearly 2 weeks. No, definitely longer than that. Maybe. I scrub a hand over my face, now rough with the remnants of forgetfulness. I can't remember the last time I shaved, let alone the last time I stepped outside this office. Well, 2 weeks ago would be a safe bet, because presumably that's all the time that separates me from what was once my normalcy to my now reality. Though I can't quite remember what's happened between this life and the one I lived prior. Parchment litters the desk I'd used as a pillow last night, covering the dark wood with paper cuts waiting to happen. Drooping eyelids make for scribbled handwriting, and I glare down at the slanted letters staring up at me. Such angry words. Such bitterness squeezed between the lines of crumpled paper. Who would have thought I'd be capable of such cruelty? Such crippling sadness? Maybe Father would like this version of me. The thought is a bitter sort of betrayal, a whisper of truth tickling my ear. Because this shell of a man and silhouette of a monster is exactly what he wanted. Not the meekness he mocked, the Achilles heel that is my kindness. I run an ink-stained hand down my face, scribbling between the deep lines of my face. My eyes catch a cursive that doesn't belong to my hand, scrolled across the parchment resting beneath my elbows. Kai's harshness can be found even in the slant of his letters. The heaviness of the ink. I don't envy him. Not truly, not intentionally. Kai was the king Father wanted. It was clear as the obvious distaste they shared for one another. Kai is every bit the brutal, the bold, the foreboding. Every bit the king's son. And I think that was exactly the problem between the two of them. Father hated that he wasn't the heir, hated that the king he wanted was thwarted by the son he had first. I wasn't Kai. And it killed him. And I know that part of him despised my brother because he was everything I wasn't. I stand feeling nearly as shaky as the sigh I let out. Pacing to and from the window has been my routinely exciting excursion for the past 2 weeks. But today I'm feeling rather bold. Today I open the curtains before immediately regretting that rash decision. I'm blinded by the dull light streaming through the cloudy window. Between blinks, I scan the grounds beyond the home I felt like a hostage in as of late. My eyes trail to where I know the scorches stretch far beyond. To where I sent Kai to find her. Her. I think about her more than I should. Write about her when my thoughts can no longer contain her. Pore over every detail of our short, shared existence. Every deliberately deceptive word. The persistence of her playing with me. Father and his encouragement to spend time with her. The feelings Kai is fighting while hunting her down. The flood of thoughts has me pulling a relatively clean sheet of parchment from beneath its marred brothers and sisters. And then she's spilling onto the page again. A variation of words I've strung together before. A ballad of betrayal. A sonnet of sorrow. I'm tired of writing from the villain's perspective.
Chapter 13. Kai. I found her. In the middle of a damn fight of all things. I shouldn't be surprised. Finish him! Finish him! Finish him! The cellar is damp, echoing with the shouts of a cramped crowd. After pushing past sweaty bodies, I let my eyes drift over the various heads of dull colors, still unaccustomed to the lack of vibrant hair among them. That's when I turned my attention to the man stalking circles in the cage, shockingly large in comparison to his opponent. His opponent. The one who moves like a dancer. Not always in fluidity, but in calculation, as though anticipating each step, mapping out each movement. The one who fights with a familiar kind of fire, a fierceness that's been fueled and honed for years. The one with the covered face, hidden hair, concealed identity. I know the face behind that fabric, know the freckles that fleck that nose, the silver hair that glints in the sun, know the lean body hidden beneath layers of clothing, concealing the waist where my hand fits perfectly, ribs scarred by a spear in the whisper forest. It's her. And there you have it! Shadow's won! Shadow. How fitting. Though I can't see her face, I can practically feel the pride radiating off her as she stands in the ring, fist lifted in triumph. I'd barely focused on the match, too consumed with the realization that is her. But I spot the blood soaking through the scarf she keeps tightly wrapped around her head and face, concealing the criminal that lies beneath. All too quickly, the match is over. The crowd is clapping. The shadow is leaving. No, I need her. The thought almost has me laughing bitterly. 2 weeks ago, those words would have held a very different meaning, one I'm not allowing myself to ponder any further. She's standing beside the announcer now, collecting her pay, and what looks to be his praise. Think. I should follow her. I should follow her and take her by surprise. I should be smart about this. Every bit of training screams at me to handle this delicately, deliberately. But where's the fun in that? I'll handle her as delicately as she did my father. I want to see her squirm, fumble to keep up her facade. And with an audience at my disposal, her identity is at stake, forcing her to focus on both me and the role she's playing. And that's when I open my mouth. So, is Shadow up for another round? It's as though I had screamed. Her head whips in my direction with such fervency that I struggle to ignore the memory of how she used to relax at the sound of my voice. Her eyes drift from face to face, searching, frantic, afraid. And then those ocean eyes crash into mine. It's electric. This look, though not like it used to be. The invisible tether between us is now charged with our past, our present, our future. With everything we once were and everything we now are. It's a hostile sort of harmony, both of us finally fully aware of what we are to one another. Nothing. Just the shell of what was, what could have been. I used to welcome the idea of drowning in those blue eyes of hers. But now, seeing the disdain she stares me down with, I realized that drowning alone wasn't what I craved, but sinking together. And? The announcer's voice doesn't manage to tear my gaze from hers. Who might you be? Her gaze narrows atop the folds of fabric concealing the face I know too well. I can practically hear her taunting voice echoing in my skull. Go on. Tell them who you are, Prince. Flame, I say, my eyes never straying from hers. Her eyes leave mine long enough to roll. Her smile is sharp, though she can't see it behind the bandana concealing the bottom of my face. If she is shadow, then I am flame. This girl is the very thing I can't seem to escape, can't seem to go anywhere without the remnants of her following. Where I am, she is, whether it's in the flesh or in the fragments of my mind. And where there is a flame, there is always a shadow. She is my inevitable. The announcer rubs the back of his neck, contemplating. Well, Flame, we weren't planning on another match tonight. Ah, of course. I raise my hand slightly, appearing apologetic. I understand. Shadow can't handle another fight tonight. Wouldn't want him to lose his winning streak, now would we? When my eyes slide back to her burning gaze, they narrow slightly. A challenge of my own. Your move, Shadow? The eavesdropping crowd finally breaks its silence with scattered whispers. The announcer glances sidelong at her, speaking volumes with a single movement. I've backed her into a corner, threatening the image she's built. Her reputation is now at risk if she refuses my obvious challenge. Her eyes bore into mine, threatening to set me ablaze. And then, she nods, slow and sure, and single-handedly sending the room buzzing in anticipation. Looks like we have another match, folks. I barely hear the announcer's booming voice, the blood pounding in my ears. My feet begin carrying me towards the ring, and every moment after I touch her again. Let's give Shadow a quick breather, eh? That's only fair. My head whips in the announcer's direction, feet stalling. My gaze flicks to the figure beside him, relief smoothing her crinkled brow, eyes sifting to the crowd. Because she's going to disappear, and I can't let that happen. The man smiles, likely thinking of every coin he'll make off us. We'll begin shortly. The crowd resumes their idle chatter, already beginning to bet on their champion. But my eyes never stray from her covered face, though I've memorized every inch of what lies beneath the folds of her scarf. If I knew her any less, I might not have seen the signs, might have missed the way she takes a casual step around the table, right into the path of some bickering onlookers. It's as though she truly is made of shadow. I take a step towards her, shoving people aside before she can melt into the madness. Catching the ripple of her scarf, I slide between bodies, attempting to keep up with her. Heads turn as I curse colorfully. The crowd has swallowed her whole, but I fight my way to the cellar door I know she's slinking towards. Steel screeches, informing me that she's about to slip away into the night. Murmurs follow as I continue pushing my way to the door, only cracked wide enough for her familiar frame to slip through. Prying it open, I bound up the steps and into the darkness beyond. My ears ring in the sudden silence while my eyes attempt to adjust. The muted echo of heavy strides has my head whipping to the right before my feet begin racing. I can just make out the outline of her form before it turns down another alley. I'm sprinting, legs pumping, heart pounding, but she can't outrun me. And what worries me most is that she knows it. I'm gaining on her, tailing each of her turns meant to throw me off. Only seconds separate us from the fate we've both found ourselves in. Only seconds before she's haunting me outside of my nightmares. She turns another corner, and I follow. Darkness. I skid to a stop, head swiveling in search for a shadowy figure. Nothing. What the hell? I murmur under my breath, taking slow steps across the stones. I scan the walls around me before my gaze climbs up to the flat roof above. A window resides in the center of the bricks, acting as the perfect step stool. Found you. Wedging my foot atop the windowsill, I pull the rest of my limbs up until I'm balancing on the ledge. I stand there for a moment, palms sweaty and throat dry. The seconds slow. Even time seems to hold its breath in anticipation of our reunion. And then it exhales. Time resumes, and I curl my fingers over the edge of the roof to lift myself up. I swing my legs up in one swift movement, standing in the next. First, there is nothing. Second, there is everything. There's her. Move, and I'll sink this dagger into your heart. No, there's hatred. Moonlight glints off the blade between her fingers. She's poised to strike, her arm cocked and voice steady. That voice. It's exactly as it was. Neither of us changed, and yet, here we stand. Strangers. I swallow, opening my mouth. That includes your lips, she says sharply. I blink, struggling to bite back the scoff she begins talking over. The only reason I haven't thrown this knife yet is because I have a proposition for you. Humoring her, I nod slightly, lips twitching beneath my bandana. She takes a step towards me, never lowering her weapon. We go back to the cellar. We fight. I win. Before I've even finished scoffing, she suddenly closed the distance between us, as if to remind me of her threat. I feel the cool tip of a blade pressed roughly against my throat. I win, she continues, deceptively calm. And you let me go. I stare down at her, at the face swallowed in shadow. She swallows, adjusting her grip on the dagger still digging into my skin. I'll go quietly back to Ilya. Silence hums. The moon bears down on us, leaning in to hear my answer. I clear my throat. Am I allowed to speak now? Or will you be stabbing me? I bow my head closer to her, ignoring the sting of a blade at my throat. I know how good you are at that. She sighs through her nose. You are welcome to speak, so long as it's to accept my offer. I hadn't realized you were in any position to negotiate. I say coolly. You should be thankful I'm even bothering. And why is that? I murmur, ripping the bandana from my face. Why not slit my throat? I can hardly see her face, but I hear the suppressed rage in her voice. Careful what you wish for. I inch dangerously close. You can't do it. Can you? You of all people should know better than to underestimate me. She breathes. So do it, Gray. A flash of steel flies towards my stomach, leaving my neck bare besides the thin line of blood beginning to bloom there. She sends the blade arcing upward, intending to slip it between my ribs and pierce the heart that once beat for her. Only she's already done that. Already mutilated whatever part of me wasn't yet a monster. Now here I stand, a mosaic of a man, all sharp edges and shattered pieces. I catch her wrist, anticipating this exact move. She sucks in a breath when I twist her arm outward, giving me room to step in against her body. Oh, come on. I breathe against her ear. Your heart wasn't in that? Steel sings against its sheath, hissing in the silence. And once again, I'm staring down the length of a blade, its point angled up beneath my jaw. She hasn't held that dagger since she buried it in the king's neck. I should have known she would pull it from the sheath at my side, its familiar swirling handle now back in her palm. All it took was a distraction and the flick of thieving fingers. Her chest heaves, brushing mine with each heavy breath. Don't think for a second, she whispers, that I won't be the death of you. She's dangerous with this dagger in hand. I've seen what she can do with it. Had it held against my throat enough times to memorize the thickness of the blade slicing into my skin. At my throat is the very weapon that sliced through my father's. Held there by his murderer. Held there by her. I smile slightly. I doubt there is any more damage you can do to me. I can feel the heat of her gaze boring into mine, though I can only make out shadowy features in the moonlight, and I'm thankful for it. Thankful for the blessing that is being unable to behold her, because when darkness hides those blazing blue eyes, I can pretend that she is nothing to me, just a shadowy figure that feels like her, smells like her, talks like her. Just a stranger in this strange place that I will never see again. But the moment the sun comes up, shedding light on my dark reality, I can no longer pretend, can no longer steal what I want when duty has me bound by a leash, dragging me back to my destiny. But here, she is no one. Here, I am nothing. Here, we are forgotten. The dagger shakes in her hand, prodding at my skin with each quiver. "I hate you," she whispers. The reminder of her lack of feelings only spurs on my sudden stupidity, my sudden need to finish what we started, no matter how doomed it was from the beginning. Because here, nothing between us matters. With one of her wrists still grasped in my palm, ensuring the other knife won't slice my skin as well, I lift my free hand toward her face. It's slow, soft even, so as not to startle her. I hold my breath, heartbeat pounding in my ears. She seems to still, to melt under the feel of my fingers pulling the scarf from around her face. Her chest brushes mine with each shaky breath. I scan the face that is now uncovered, seeing nothing of the girl I cared for. The girl who killed my father. The girl I've been ordered to bring home. I see none of that. Because I see nothing at all. She is no one. I am nothing. We are forgotten, and this is meaningless. I gently tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, a strand that is shadowed, not silver. A strand that belongs to the stranger I will never see again. "You promised to be my undoing," I murmur, lowering my head close enough to hear her sharp intake of breath. "So, prove it." Her face angles up towards mine, our noses brushing. She never lowers her dagger, and the point of her blade still draws blood from my throat. "Prove it," I repeat, voice quiet. "Hate me enough to make me want you." I cup her jaw, feeling her eyes burning into mine. "Ruin me." Our mouths crash together. I can taste the loathing on her lips, the anger in each swipe of her tongue. She spells out a promise, leaving it to linger on my lips, a vow to undo me, and she's already begun. She kisses me hard, biting my lip to draw blood like the dagger she still presses against me. I tighten my grip on her other wrist, still clutching the small knife, hard enough to have her palm opening and the blade clattering onto the uneven roof. With her hand now free, I lift it over my shoulder, guiding it around my neck. Her fingers are buried into my hair while mine dig into her hips. I ignore how familiar she feels. Ignore every one of my screaming senses because this is a stranger. We are nothing to each other, and that means anything is allowed. This kiss is deep and anything but tender. It is betrayal. It is bitterness, and nothing has ever tasted so sweet. It is ruin. She suddenly jerks away, dropping the dagger that was pressed against my throat. Pushing hard at my chest, she staggers back, breathing heavy. I blink in the darkness, trying to ignore the heavy weight of reality crashing down on us. "Don't," she pants. "Never again." I lick my lips, tasting a trickle of blood from her bite. She sways on shaky legs, and I watch as she fixes her attention on the roof between us. The blades lie forgotten at our feet, winking up at us in the pale moonlight. She stiffens at the sight, and then she lunges. I manage to grab her swirled dagger before she can snatch it, forcing her to settle for the knife she greeted me with. Her shoulders heave as she takes another step away from me, shoving the blade into her boot. My lips tingle from the taste of her, Hands trembling from the feel of her, I take a breath, shocked by my own actions. Shocked that I found a way to justify them. Shocked that she wanted to as much as I did. It was hatred, but it happened. I look up to find her seemingly composed, tucking her hair and face back into its cocoon of fabric. "Do we have a deal?" she says evenly, as though nothing has changed between us. And nothing has. She is still my mission, and I am still her monster. What happened between us, past and present, was nothing more than a mistake. A lapse in judgment, a spark between two strangers in the night. But when she turns her face towards the rays of moonlight dripping from a starry sky, I see the girl who ruined me. The planes of a face I've held in my hands, freckles I've counted 12 times, the hands that drove a sword through the king's stomach, a dagger through his throat. And now I can no longer pretend. I pull my bandana up and walk towards the edge of the roof. Deal. The crowd splits, creating a path to the cage. She beat me back to the cellar after practically jumping off the roof to get away from me. I take my time strolling inside, staring at her through the wired cage, though she looks in any other direction than mine. When the door swings shut behind me, shouts erupt. The crowd is already gambling on the outcome of the match, shouting what they must believe to be words of encouragement at their chosen fighter. She wastes no time before beginning to circle me. This is not the same girl I kissed on the roof, and it feels as though we are meeting again for the first time. Though a public reunion in which we are both hiding our identity is not exactly ideal. I watch her as we slowly circle one another, each of us attempting to anticipate the other's move. Words stick in my throat, unable to say something worth the weeks of silence between us. Because what happened on the roof hardly counts as a reunion. Hardly counts at all. Took you long enough? Flame? Her words are laced with bitter amusement, void of whatever emotions we left on the rooftop. Good. We are carrying on as normal, as enemies. What? I ask. Finding you, or coming to my senses? Well, clearly you haven't really come to your senses, considering you stepped foot in this ring, with me inside it. Her hands twitch at her side, itching to connect with my face. I almost laugh. I could say the same to you, Shadow. My voice drops to a whisper I'm not even sure she can hear over the crowd, though I know my eyes shout the title at her. I say, Silver Savior. I'd watch your tongue, Prince. I can see the sharp smile in her eyes. Unless you'd like to swallow it. Have you been practicing that little line? I drawl. You know, for when I inevitably found you? Or did... Her fist finds my jaw. Hard. I didn't even have time to react, to dodge, to do anything other than take the blow as it whips my head to the side. No, she answers sweetly. But I have been practicing that. I spit blood onto the mat, drawing a roar from the crowd. It seems I won't need to remind you how to punch correctly. Again. This time I duck before she can break my nose. Her arm swings over my head, and I take advantage of her unguarded stomach to send a quick jab below her ribs. She staggers slightly before filling the space between us with a foot flying towards my temple. I twist, blocking her kick and pushing her leg away from me. Are you prepared to let me go when I win this fight? She pants, pelting me with a combination of punches I scarcely block. She's persistent, as per usual, and far less fatigued than I figured she'd be. I suspect our time on the roof likely added to her bloodlust. After exchanging blows, most of them blocked, she drops into a crouch to swing her leg out. A jump, narrowly missing her attempt to send me sprawling onto the mat. But she's up in an instant, twisting with a back kick that has her heel careening towards my skull. This time, I block before catching her leg. Using the momentum of her kick, I have her flipping onto the mat before her next blink. She rolls, her back colliding with the cage wall, making it rattle while the crowd roars on the other side. I wipe an already bloody hand across the line of crimson trailing from my split lip. "Look," I pant, moving to stand over her. "Here's what's gonna happen. You're going to..." Both of her booted feet fly into my stomach, thoroughly knocking the air from my lungs. I stagger with the sudden force of it, my back slamming into the caged wall. She's on me in a moment, her hands on my shoulders, and we're dancing in the whispers. Pale moonlight streams through the trees, illuminating the eyes staring up into mine. Sparkling like an indigo pool I'm all too willing to dive headfirst into. Her hands anchor me, tethering us together with a tentative touch. Soft, but sure. Steady, but seemingly timid. Unsure what this means, but sure that she wants it. Her hands are on my shoulders and her knee is driving into my stomach once, twice, 3 times before I come to my senses and block with one arm before swinging the other at her jaw. Her head snaps to the side, and I take advantage of the second of shock she allows. I have her gripped by the collar and pressed against the cage within the next heartbeat. That's when she knees me in the groin. The crowd grunts right alongside me. "Classy as always," I choke out, still clutching her tightly. "Oh, that was nothing, Prince," she hisses through gritted teeth. "Now, get the hell out of my ring." I laugh dryly, my face close to hers. "Oh, I'll get the hell out of this plague-forsaken city so long as you come with me. I'll drag you back to Ilia if I must. Over my dead body, Prince. That would make things a hell of a lot easier. So trust me when I say I'm considering it." Her body tenses, and I feel the punch she's about to throw before she even moves. My hands pin her wrists to the cage, pressing her hard against the wire. "Here's what's gonna happen." I breathe close to her ear, eyeing the crowd enjoying this immensely. "We're gonna wrap this little show up, and you're gonna come quietly." Her eyes are ablaze. "You haven't won yet." "Oh? I haven't?" I trail a hand up to her face, tugging at the fabric there. "All I have to do is slip out a single strand of silver hair, and everyone in this room will be trying to kill you for that hefty price on your head. And I'm tempted to let them do just that. It would make my job far easier." Lies. I have strict orders to return her to Ilia alive, despite what the posters say. But she sure as hell doesn't need to know that. I smile enough for her to see it in my eyes. "So yes, I won the second I stepped into this ring." She swallows, the only sign of worry she'll allow me to see. "You're awfully confident for someone who's also hiding their identity." "Yes, well, there's not a price on my head." "You're the Prince of Ilia. There will always be a price on your head." And with that, she rips the bandana from my face.
Chapter 14. Payton. His face is jarring in the way that déjà vu can be, like seeing a figment of your imagination materialize outside of your mind. I could barely see him atop the roof, draped in darkness, and that was dangerous. Dangerous to pretend that he was anything but the man who murdered my father. It was pathetic. It was a distraction, and I will never be so weak again. But I see him now for what he is to me. Dead. Stubble shadows his sharp jaw, accompanied by the blood leaking from his lip, reminding me of how I'd bitten him. I shake the thought away, vowing to never think of it again. His dark brows raise in shock, his gray eyes piercing mine. He has a sort of rugged look to him, like the face I grew annoyingly fond of in the forest. He's horrifyingly exactly how I remember him. Every dark lash lining those silver eyes, every twitch of his too familiar lips, every lock of ebony hair falling in waves atop a tanned brow, every piece of him perfectly in place, exactly how I'd left him. The sight of him so preserved, so seemingly the boy I came to care for, feels like a taunt, like a mockery of every moment that amounted to nothing. I can barely make out the muffled voices in the crowd, barely focus on the many fingers pointing at the prince. I'd heard the rumors in the streets, heard whispers of the enforcer slinking through the city in search of the Silver Savior, though I wasn't sure they were true until I laid my own eyes on him. Flame. The cocky bastard called himself Flame. The fire to my shadow. Insufferable son of a bitch. The knuckles he sinks into my cheek catch me by surprise. My head whips to the side as pain laces through my face and down my neck. He's definitely not holding back anymore. Before I can repay the favor, his hand grips my chin, roughly turning my face back towards him. That was a mistake, darling. Darling. The title is now void of endearment, empty of all empathy. When his hand pulls down the fabric covering my nose and mouth, I do the classiest thing I can think of. I bite him. Shit! Kai hisses through his teeth, snatching his hand away from my wicked smile. What the hell was that? I shove him hard, pushing him towards the center of the ring. What, not classy enough for you? I throw a punch I know he'll duck beneath. When he jabs for my stomach, I catch his wrist as I spin behind him to press it to his shoulder blade. He sucks in a breath, biting his tongue against the pain I know is shooting up his arm. It's shocking that anything you do still surprises me, he grits out, before hooking a foot behind my own and tugging. The bastard has me tumbling to the mat. He's straddling me before I have a moment to catch my breath, pinning my arms beneath his knees. I writhe under him as he grips the scarf still covering my traitorous hair. Move again, bite again, and everyone will see what a fascinating hair color you have. I pant, livid, and frantically searching for a way out of this. Fine, I'll come quietly, but we need to end this fight. I relax my body, willing myself to look defeated. Let me tap out. I wriggle a hand that's trapped beneath his knee. He gives me a skeptical look before slowly lifting the pressure off my arm. Then I move my hand to the side, giving the crowd full view of the palm I'm about to smack against the mat. Except that instead of hitting the mat, it's his face my hand connects with. He curses loudly, not wasting a second before pinning my wrist above my head. I smile. His legs have loosened their hold just enough for me to thrust my knee up into his groin once again. He grunts, but I'm already using the distraction and my free leg to flip us over. I press my full weight atop his chest as I slip the short, wicked blade from my boot, the same one I should have sunk into his chest the minute he climbed onto the roof. Leaning close to his face to conceal the illegal weapon, I press the knife onto his cheek. The shock that slips through his mask of cold indifference, settling in his wide eyes, has me smiling down at him. You're going to cut me open? Here? With a room full of witnesses? His voice is steady, but I can feel his betraying heartbeat pounding against the ribs where my legs are pressed. You should have killed me on the roof. I break skin at the mention of what should have never happened between us. It would have certainly saved me the trouble of having to do it later. Go on, then. He lifts his head slightly off the ground, pressing the blade harder against his skin, taunting, testing. Do it. Wouldn't be the first time you spilled royal blood. His eyes flick between mine, seemingly haunted by the very sight of me, by the sight of his father's murderer on the brink of becoming his own. I vaguely wonder if he can even stand to touch me, to brush the hands that are covered in his father's blood. I wonder if he can barely look at me in the light without seeing the brutal way his father died. Because that's what he feels like to me. Like a constant reminder of my father's fate. Go on, my silver savior, he muses bitterly. Be my undoing. And this time, I will. I'll do what I should have done on that roof. The hilt grows slick in my sweaty palm. Do it. Damn the consequences, the crowd, and do it. I told myself I wouldn't hesitate again, and yet here I am, his life cupped in my bloody hands while my head and heart haggle for control. Do it. My throat has gone dry. Blood pounds in my ears, drowning out the rumbling crowd along with any rational thought. I grip the handle tighter, pulling back slightly as I prepare to swipe the blade. A calloused hand catches my wrist, the one I'd been too preoccupied to notice slipping out from beneath my legs. He pushes my arm away from his already bleeding throat, while his other hand lifts up, up, up. No, no, no! I'm powerless to stop him from ripping the scarf from my head. Chapter 15. Payton. Silver tumbles from the fabric, dull in the dim light but undeniably identifiable. Careful, Gray, he murmurs. I was beginning to think you cared about me. Gasps travel through the crowd as whispers evolve into pointing fingers and shouted accusations. No, no, no. Even if I'm able to escape the enforcer, I can't outrun every person and door. And now that they've seen my hair, seen that I'm here, I can't fight in the ring anymore. Can't earn enough money to start over. Something akin to amusement lights his eyes, making me regret not slitting his throat when I had the chance. And I've certainly had that chance, more than once. You bastard! My voice is a little more than a whisper, even as I struggle to shove myself out of his grip. He suddenly has both my wrists clutched in calloused hands, yanking me closer to him as the dagger slips from my sweaty palm. I practically topple over his chest before his mouth is at my ear. What are you gonna do, You won't make it one step outside this cage before being torn apart. Oi, come on out, little silver savior! Before the words have even left his mouth, taunting shouts ripple through the crowd. That's who's worth so much? Pretty little thing worth a pretty penny, eh? People are rattling the cage now, shouting at the stunned silver savior. Great observation, Prince. You could pass for a psychic. I'm all but baring my teeth at him. We had a deal. And I won. Oh, is that what you're calling it? I scoff. How exactly are you planning to get me out of here then? Why the hell did you do that? He smiles. It's a simple, soft lift of his lips that feels like a punch to the gut. Like a piece of the past slipping its way into my present. A piece of him I didn't think I'd witness again. Because, he answers calmly, I needed you to need me. I choke on a humorless laugh. And you think today is the day I suddenly decide I need you? I think today is the day you don't have any other choice. He starts to sit up, my wrists still gripped between his fingers despite my incessant yanking. The only way you're walking out of here in one piece is with the enforcer at your side. Unless you think the Silver Savior can take down every person in this cellar, then by all means, be my guest. I glare at him, a last resort when I refuse to say what he wants to hear, because he's insufferable and intolerable and annoyingly right. The enforcer is my only way out of here, but one person is far easier to evade than the entirety of this packed room. I'll use him to get out, and then I'll deal with him alone. I swallow, my throat dry as I try to gulp down my growing pride. Fine, I grit out. Get me out of here. There are those glowing manners of yours, he says dryly. You may need to get out of my lap, though, if we plan on leaving anytime soon. I startle, my cheeks burning with the sudden realization that I'm perched atop his lap, my wrists pinned down. He's far too close, the feel of him far too familiar. I can't stand it, stand him, which is why I ungracefully slide from his lap to stand with him. He releases one of my wrists, but makes up for it by gripping the other one all the more tightly. Turning to face the crowd, his voice is even as he announces, "I'll be taking the Silver Savior with me, and no one here is going to give us any problems." The crowd erupts in an outrage that the enforcer refuses to acknowledge as he continues, his tone every bit the commander. "As Ilya's enforcer and second to the king, she's my property. Mine. Which means, if anyone so much as lays a hand on her, you'll learn firsthand just how brutal the elites can be." We stare at each other, still connected by his rough hand encircling my own. Our unspoken sins seem to stretch between us, swallowing the insignificant words burning in my throat. We are one and the same, this enforcer and I. Both numb, both burdened, both covered in the blood of each other's fathers. An elite and ordinary have never seemed so similar. His next words are delicately dangerous in that devastating way of his. "Everything I've done has been for the king, and you're the one who killed him, not me." "I killed a father," I say, stepping closer to him. "And so did you." His brows crinkle, confusion crease between them. "What are you—" His grip has loosened, his guard has fallen, and I don't think twice before taking advantage of his distraction. In one swift movement, I twist so my back is against his chest and hook my free arm under his shoulder. With a combination of momentum and his sheer shock, I have him suddenly flipping over my shoulder. Not my most graceful takedown, and Plague knows father would raise his brows in that way he always did during training. After all, it was him who taught me to take down a man 3 times my size, so the sloppiness in which the enforcer rolled over my shoulder just now would have him shaking his head with that exasperated smile of his. The prince hits the ground with a trail of curses. I'm on him before my next thundering heartbeat, slipping my last thin blade from my boot. "Did you really think I wouldn't have another knife on me?" I pant, pressing it to his ribs. Something sharp bites into my back, and I shudder at the familiar feeling of a blade pricking my spine. I'm getting sloppy. I haven't the slightest idea where the weapon came from, or when he pulled it out, and my lack of focus is frightening. "Sorry, Father." "Did you really think I'd underestimate you after everything you've done?" His eyes bore into mine, burning like the unspoken words trying to claw their way up his throat. "Go on!" The shout surprises me, the words far harsher than I intended them to be. "Say it! Say what I've done!" His chest heaves beneath me. "You killed the king." I shake my head at him, my eyes never breaking from the betrayal in his gaze. Yes, I killed the king. But more importantly, I killed a wicked tyrant. I killed a man who has killed countless. I killed a man who tried to kill me just because power doesn't run through my veins. I heave a breath, my teeth bared above him. But I'm forgetting one other thing. What else did I kill, Prince? His throat bobs. You killed my father. Yet another thing we have in common. I breathe. His brows crinkle as I hover the knife above his stomach. Should I drive this through your chest like you did my father? That seems only fitting, don't you think? He shakes his head at me, disbelief drenching his features. Your father? I didn't... His eyes widen slightly with something that resembles realization. How many years? How many years ago was he killed? I refuse to believe he didn't know whose life he'd taken that night. Refuse to believe he wasn't deceiving me all these months, tricking me into trusting him after all he's taken from me. Refuse to believe he didn't know it was my heart he shattered the night he slid a sword through my father's. 5, I croak. In my house. My words are little more than a whisper. I watched you kill him. He shakes his head at me, horror slipping through the cracks of his mask, the crevices of his crumbling walls. Peyton, It's the first time he's said my name, and some pathetic part of me would have liked to hear him say it again. But I don't even get the chance to hear anything he says after. He's over here! A shout that can only belong to an Imperial echoes off the walls, followed by the thundering of a dozen booted feet. My eyes shoot up towards the sound, finding shadows shifting closer. Then I'm looking at him again. He opens his mouth to say something, but it's a strangled grunt that slips out instead. The clean slice to his shoulder buys me a few seconds, and I don't dare waste a single one. I'm running again, like I always seem to find myself doing. And I don't look back.